And Ibn Sina tried to settle the question just using philosophy. And the Rambam is knocking him away. And the Rambam's saying, look, the mistake the orphan makes is a quite natural one. What he does is he looks at the laws that govern a mature human being and he applies them to the genesis of the human being. But he's wrong to do that because the rules that govern a fetus are not necessarily the same as the rules that govern a mature human adult. In exactly the same way, says the Rambam loved Aristotelian physics. He thought it was brilliant. I think he thought it was the greatest intellectual achievement of humanity to date, Aristotelian physics. But Aristotelian physics, which tells us that everything that exists has a material cause, and therefore there's no such thing as something made from nothing, Aristotelian physics are the laws that govern the mature universe. And you'd be making the same error that the orphan makes to think that the same set of rules that govern a mature adult universe would also govern the genesis of the universe. Exactly the same mistake that the orphan makes, because the orphan thinks that the rules that govern a healthy adult human being should be applied to the genesis of the human being. And the great thing is about this period, and it's inspiring, and I think it should inspire us too, is that all of these thinkers, these great pious Jews, Muslims and Christians, while the Amcha were busy persecuting one another and basically persecuting the Jews on both sides, because we've never had any of the power to persecute anyone, while the Amcha was busy persecuting, these guys were reading one another with great respect, right? You read Mifalot Elokim of Abarbanel, and he's quoting Augustine, and he's quoting Averroes by name. And today, if you were to pick up a book by a great, Gadol Ador, it's unlikely that they'd be quoting many Christian Muslim thinkers. And it was a different time, and I think there is something there to aspire to. Well, I think we've learned a lot of things on this journey. Things about the nature of freedom, things about the nature of God's rationality, things about the nature of time, things about the nature of matter, about the nature of infinity. These are deep concepts that the rabbis had interesting and new things to say. One of the things I find most fascinating about this debate between the Muslim, Jewish and Christian philosophers of this period is that some of them gave us really, really good reasons to think that the universe must have extended into an infinite past. And if they're right, then that's problematic to your question about Noach and Sefer Bereshit in general, which makes it look like this world had a very definite beginning around 6,000 years ago. And what we see is the rabbis were willing to say, well, if the philosophy proves to us that the universe is eternal, then we'll have to read those stories differently. Even if it means reading them as allegories, even if it means that they definitely came from God, but we'll be willing to do it. And then Olam comes Sajiga on, and in my view, decisively proves, using philosophy alone, long before Hubble, and in ways that it seems to me are inoculated from disproof by empirical observation. He proves, given the nature of infinity, he proves that time must have had a beginning. And that's very important because it saves your question. If we believe that time has a beginning, then we can start to ask, okay, well, when was that? Was it really 6,000 years ago? Maybe it even allows for a completely literal reading of Sefer Bereshit. On the other hand, what we see from the Chachamim is a willingness to be led by the two books that God authored, rather than by the one book that God authored. In the words of Tzadok Cohen, quoting the Ishbitzer, God wrote two books. He wrote the Torah, the Tanakh, and he wrote the laws of nature, which include philosophy, logic, and mathematics. And the Chachamim were willing to be led by both of them. If it looks like there's a tension between them, if it looks to you like, hold on a minute, well, genetics makes it seem like it's not possible that Noah had all of the animals on the ark, then what we have to do is say, okay, well, maybe the story's an allegory and it didn't really happen. Or maybe it happened, but it didn't happen quite as explained. Maybe there was more than one Noah. Maybe there was a regional Noah in the Middle East who saved the Middle Eastern animals, and there was a South American Noah who saved, and there was an Australian Noah who saved the duck-billed platypus. I don't know. But what I do know is that the medieval rabbis give us a methodology for how to answer or how to attack the sort of question you're raising. And the methodology is let's be guided both by the science and philosophy and by the revealed word of God, which is the Torah that we have. No worries. But my general attitude is numbers are part of the deep structure of God's own cognitive architecture.